Hi there.
Hey there.
We're Sean and Allison from Spoken Garden, and we're partnering with Eden Brothers to help you in your garden.
Yeah, we're going to show you how to sow your cornflower seeds step by step today.
But before we get to that, it's helpful to know that cornflowers could be direct sown in the ground, and they should be. And if you live in a harsher, colder climate, you're going to need to wait at least 2 weeks after your last spring frost date.
You also need to find the right site to grow them before you actually plant the seeds. Now, they like full sun locations. They also will tolerate porous soils, but they do really well in well-draining and fertile soils. So before we show you how to sow these cornflower seeds, we want to let you know that cornflowers, or also known as bachelor buttons, they are an annual that are hardy in zones 2 through 10. Now, they will tolerate colder temperatures, but they don't like frost while they're growing. So make sure to watch out for that when you're planting these and growing these. Now, cornflowers can come in a lot of different colors, and that includes white, pink, reddish purple, a deep burgundy, and a striking blue. Now, cornflowers can either grow as low spreaders or with upright branching. We're going to show you today how to sow organic seeds, these organic cornflower seeds of Jubilee Gem. These are a double thistle-like type of flower. It's a deep, deep blue type of flower. It's going to be beautiful. Jubilee Gem will flower from spring through fall and is a great pollinator attractor, including bees and butterflies. It's also edible, and as an heirloom variety, it has gray-green feather-like foliage, which makes for a nice contrast plant out in your garden. Now, Jubilee Gem is great for container gardening, cut flowers, and accents of blue throughout your whole garden. It'll grow about 24 inches tall and definitely has that upright growth we were talking about before. Now, bachelor buttons or cornflowers by themselves, just in general, they'll get about 3 feet tall.
So before we show you how to sow your cornflower seeds, it's helpful to know when to sow them so you can plan ahead and get ready. For spring sowing, which is when most of you will probably sow your seeds, depending on your hardiness zone, you have a few options, but mostly these plants or these seeds work best when you direct sow them outside. So if you're going to do that, you're going to want to wait until at least 1 to 2 weeks after your last spring frost, because you want to wait till the soil warms up a little bit. Now, you can also start them indoors, which is another option. We time it so it's about 1 month ahead of your last spring frost date. For those of you that live in a hardiness zone that's a lot warmer and milder, you can do a fall seed sowing as well and get a flush of flowers in the fall. But you're going to need to time it about 6 to 8 weeks before your first fall frost. All right, let's get these Jubilee Gem cornflower seeds sown. The first step is to get your soil ready for planting. If you have poor soil, you're going to need to amend the soil with compost or any type of organic material, because you want loose, well-draining soil, at least down to 8 to 12 inches deep. The next step is to get ready for sowing, and this includes spacing and depth for your seed. It's helpful to use a hori-hori knife or some type of tool that has measurements on it, because the spacing between the seeds for Jubilee Gem is 6 to 8 inches apart. So we're using the hori-hori knife to measure the spacing. Next, we need to sow each seed at the correct depth. For cornflower seeds, these specific seeds, it is 1/4 of an inch deep. It's really helpful to use some type of seed sowing tool like a dibber, like we're using here. This is our tool called the Diby XL, to make precise holes. Otherwise, you could risk your cornflowers not germinating. Next, carefully remove your cornflower seeds from the seed packet and drop 2 to 3 seeds per planting hole. Now, another option is you can broadcast all of your cornflower seeds. That's okay as well. For general broadcasting, you'd want to evenly disperse the seeds on top of the soil and press them into the soil, but don't cover them. Next, carefully cover all your seed holes with soil. We're using the other end of the Diby XL, which is called the Widger. So finally, gently moisten the top of the soil to start the germination process. And that's how you sow your cornflower seeds.
In the next couple of weeks and months, you're going to want to make sure to keep everything well watered over here. That includes getting the seeds to germinate, and also once they germinate, just around the plants, keep the watering consistent. Now, even though cornflowers are very drought tolerant, you want to make sure that you actually water them on a more consistent basis so you get all of that really healthy growth and a lot better flowers. It's also important to keep up the weeding in this area so your cornflowers aren't competing with other plants for those nutrients and water. Mulching around your cornflowers will really give them a lot more moisture to draw from and also help with that weed suppression. Now, also Also keep in mind that you want to look for any diseases like the powdery mildew and any other insects that could come in and damage your cornflowers. Now, if you broadcasted your seeds and you want a more formal look with that broadcasted area of your cornflowers, you'll need to thin them to 8 to 12 inches apart. Now, if you're just going for a more natural meadow look, you're not going to need to do anything to them, just let them grow. Now, if you're planning to grow your cornflowers for cut flowers, you should expect them to flower in 60 to 90 days after they've been sown. You also need to make sure that the stems of each flower grow to at least 12 to 18 inches long before harvest. Make sure to harvest your cut flowers in the early morning after your plants have been watered. This is when the plants are least stressed and the stems are the strongest. Now, if you're not growing your cornflowers for cut flowers and you want the plants to self-sow out in your garden to come back next year or in the next growing season, leave some of the flowers to fully die back and wither so the seeds can disperse in your garden. Then remove the dead flowers and stems after your first frost. Now, if you need more flower planting, growing, or harvesting tips, you can always go to EdenBrothers.com and check out all their different plant guides.
And we hope this video was really helpful in getting your cornflower seeds sown. From us at Spoken Garden and Eden Brothers, thank you so much for watching.